In my presentation, I would like to say the actual different types of intellectual property and why it required to be protected, and how the universities are instrumental in protecting this. Uh, Primarily, if you see, universities are largely interested in publishing the. So I was saying that there are various types of intellectual property. Lack of awareness to us uh, will create like people feel that it is uh, they doesn't own any intellectual property rights. All of us are owning intellectual property rights. Each and every individual born in this world will have intellectual capability to create intellectual property. It is only that we need to identify what type of intellectual property and uh, put it in a portfolio where we can monetize it. That is what is lacking. That is what is not the awareness what Mr. Ashok Ramkumar or Raghavinder or other speakers have discussed today. The awareness, what they are saying is you need to identify what type of intellectual property that you have created and how it need to be monetized. So there are various forms of intellectual property I have listed on this slide, right from patents, trademarks, copyrights, designs, plant varieties, utility models, biodiversity, layout designs, integrated circuits. There are several forms, databases, computer programs. There are several other forms of intellectual property which might not be complete list in this slide. Now, in a nutshell, if I require to say the very important types of intellectual property, what they are, how they are acquired, I have put it in one slide. The legal right of patents given for inventions and innovations. It is accorded on making an application which government examines and then it will grant a patent. So it is on application, you get application and examination, you get a right. Then copyright, it is on original creative artistic form of expressions. Exits automatically, you don't require to register. There's a myth that unless you register a copyright, you won't get a copyright. So it is copyright is not necessary for registration. If you publish it first, you when you go to the court, the court will prove, court will ask who wrote, who expressed it first. So if you have published it first, your name will be given as first author, and the later person required to defend his case, saying that he has not copied your work. So it exists automatically. Then trademarks, as the name suggests, trademark, a mark that represents a trade, the distinctive identification of products and services that you sell, that will be given trademark rights. Trademark also, it is not mandatory to register. You can get trademark protection by using the mark in the course of commerce on a product or a service. Automatically you get protection under common law, as well as you can also get it registered under a statutory protection under the Trademark Act 1999. So that's about trademark. Then registered designs. Registered designs are given to external appearance of products, be it any product. It may be water bottle shape, it may be shape of a mouse you have, or shape of a mobile phone. Any product, any industrial product to which a shape is given, that is called industrial design. And that external appearance, sometimes the product sells in the market not because of its functionality, but because of its aesthetic appearance, its shape. So that will be protected only on making an application and getting a registration. If you don't make an application, if you don't register, you lose your rights for that. Then you have trade secrets. Trade secrets, India, we don't have any separate law, unlike in US and other countries where antitrust laws are there. But in India, we don't have separate trade secret law. However, trade secrets are protected in India under the form of Indian Contracts Act, Penal Code, as well as common law. So if any valuable information which is not known to general public, you have taken reasonable efforts to protect it as a secret. Those things, those information, it can be list of students, or it may be the course content, the way you teach the syllabus, any information which is not generally known to other institutions or other universities or other colleges, and you have that information, that can be protected as a trade secret. Now, what is important is you need to understand what is intellectual property, what are the different forms, and its commercial value. Very importantly, we will act loose upon intellectual property. We will not let him copy what is there. We will not focus on protecting it and monetizing it. Indians are not for intellectual property, but disseminating of knowledge free of cost is what a brand has been made on Indians. However, we need to protect intellectual property, which is our creation, and demand respect to our intellectual property. If somebody copies it, we need to enforce them. So we need to gain commercial value out of the intellectual property, is what the entire intellectual property law regime says. Having said that, there are various types of intellectual property. Intellectual property in form of trademark, intellectual property in form of patent, intellectual property in form of trade secret, intellectual property in form of copyright, intellectual property in form of trades, the designs, industrial designs. There are multiple forms of intellectual property. When you, at least in the academic institution, maybe the industry now learned about protecting the intellectual property integratedly. However, the academic institutions, the moment you write a thesis and file a patent for it, there ends the matter. You doesn't bother to protect it integratedly. You just file a patent, and whether it is granted or not is also, you won't bother. You just file it and then you forget about it. So that should not be the attitude. We need to pursue once you file a patent application, we need to pursue with the patent office, get it granted. Not only that, we can also look in what are the other possible types of intellectual property that can be applied to that kind of product what you have invented. Sometimes it is not the patent which can stop the competition, but the other forms of intellectual property, maybe design, maybe the copyright, maybe the trade secret, that will stop the competitor. The objective of intellectual property is to have a commercial monopoly in the market. So once you file a patent application, it doesn't end there. You need to look out for a person who can monetize your invention in the market. So once you file a patent application, your next step is which all countries you have market. If you have 10-15 countries, you need to look in people who can market your product in that 10-15 countries, assign your rights to the 10-15 country people, not just the patent. If you just give the patent, what happens is, over a long period, patent is for a limited time of 20 years. After 20 years, it lapses and you won't get any revenue. So what you need to do is you need to add a trademark to it. You need to add a copyright to it. You need to add a design to it. So you have an integrated protection. Once you have integrated protection, monetization becomes quite easy. When you commercialize it, even if somebody copying, if you are not able to prove the technology what is copying is exactly your patent, you can say that it is exactly your trademarks. For example, Lego, the building blocks brand. So building blocks has been patented by Lego long ago. And then even today, if I require to go in a stationery shop or some place where I can buy these building blocks, if I ask for building blocks, the shopkeeper doesn't understand it. If I say I want Lego, he'll immediately pick up the product and give it to me. So that is the kind of association it has reached to that product. So if your product, if your invention also gets that kind of association, even after expiry of 20 years, you will continue to receive royalties. So that is the objective of getting integrated protection of intellectual property rights. Now let us see in this a small example I have given. Likith is a software developer in a company called Promax AI Services. Develops a product called GymFix. That customizes the gym equipment based on the user's body vitals. That is computer automated physical fitness system. Very recently, I think Karnataka superstar Punit Rajkumar has expired because while doing exercise in the gym. So something like that can be prevented by using this invention. So Likith has documented his invention in a book and want to publish it as an academic person. He has written a very nice article about that entire invention, and he want to publish that book. So before publishing, the company want to protect the IP because they might have attended similar kind of conferences and all. They got to know about maintaining secrecy before filing the applications. So they wanted to file IP before releasing the book in the market. So they have approached you what are the different types of intellectual property that you can make out? Is it the GIMFIX software as such, protected under patents and copyrights? And then GIMFIX name can be a trademark. And then the book, what he has written, is again a copyright. So there are various forms of intellectual property that can be made out of one single invention, and you have to protect it all together. Now, why protection of trademarks? When it comes to universities and colleges or educational institutions, trademarks are just the name of the institution or the logo, mascot, what they use on their t-shirts, bags and all. So that is what is generally been protected. It is very important. Nevertheless, it is the identification of the institution. Suppose, for example, Osmania University. If I start Osmania University in some other place in the country and promote it, it has 100 years of legacy. So the reputation, everything will automatically get attracted several students to me if I start Osmania University. But when Osmania University has a registered brand, Osmania University can stop that other educational institute to be started in any other part of the country. So that is what is required to be protected, number one. Number two, as I said, intellectual property is integrated protection. We require integrated protection. All your students' theses or faculty research, when you are protecting, not just filing a patent is it will not dissolve, it will not absolve you from intellectual property activity. You need to also explore other types of intellectual property, and trademark is one of the other type of intellectual property which you can elect and file an application for and get registration for yourself. And mind you that patent is only for 20 years, whereas trademark is as long as you use in the market continuously. It is perpetual. Unlike other intellectual property rights, which are limited in time, trademarks are continuous period of protection it will be given. The only requirement is you need to use it in the market, and if it is registered, you need to continuously renew it. So that is the objective of the trademark law, for protecting trademarks to your inventions. You are associating the product what you have invented with this name. So name and the product will go together. One single entity. There is again, if Osmania University has one name, Osmania University registered, they can't go for other branding. It is not like that. Every institution, every organization can hold multiples of trademarks. For example, Hindustan Unilever. Hindustan Unilever, they have thousands of products. Every product has separate brand. Every product has separate identity. They have created separate identity for each and every product. They have 10 soap categories, Santur, Lux, Synthol, all of them come from Hindustan Unilever only, but every name has a different connotation, different identity to itself. So that is what you need to create for each and every product. Every university can hold multiples of trademarks. Forget about one trademark filing today. Tomorrow, maybe you require to file thousands of trademarks for your thousands of inventions and products that you make from the university. So that is one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is when every university these days, it is quite common to start incubation center. When you start incubation center, you allow your student and faculty to make a new startup. When they in your incubation center, when they come up with a new startup, they'll have their company name, the brand name that need to be protected. You need to guide them to protect that names and brands. Forget about inventions, products, innovations which require a lot of R&D and all. Giving a name is quite simple. So just give a name and protect it for those startups which will have some kind of intellectual property incubating out of your incubation center. So that is other important aspects why trademarks required to be protected. Now, what happens to trademark? There are 5 functions of a trademark. It avoids consumer discipline by distinguishing one trader from other trader. it associates the quality to the product or service which you are selling. If I say 5 brand names I'll take, you automatically, your mind associates quality to it. 5 shoe brands, for example, Nike, sneakers, Action, Bata. If I give these names, automatically your mind associate. The moment I say Nike, you think that it is high standard. If I say Adidas, it is again high standard. The moment I say Action or Bata, your mind says that it is bit lower quality. So that association of quality to your mind happened because over the period of time, those products have been given in that specific quality. So that is how the quality will be associated with the brand name is associated with the quality of product and service. Then it acts as an advertising instrument for trader to sell in the market. If I require to sell my products in the market, it acts as an advertising instrument. And finally, it protects the goodwill. There is a saying that Google and Coca-Cola, all their physical assets in the country can equate the brand. The brand value is such that the enormous brand value built in for these companies, the entire physical assets in the country, if they sell off, they can't make the value of the brand. So that is how the goodwill is being valued these days and protected. So unless you have a registered trademark and you can protect your brand name, that value can't be fathomed, with that value can't be associated to you. Now, trademark applications, if you go in practical aspects, how you file a trademark application can be filed under 2 categories. That is based on usage in the market. Already you have started using, you associated your brand name or the sign or symbol to your product or service. Then based on that, you can file a based on usage, which requires you to file a user affidavit along with the documents that prove the usage in the market, how you are using. Are you selling? Have you invoiced your customers? Are you advertising it? Are you made a website? What kind of usage you have done? That document along with an affidavit saying that since when you are using, that required to be filed along with an application to get registration based on the prior use. Then providing user application claiming proposed to be used. Most often for academic institutions, I'm believing that you won't commence into the market. For your startup companies in incubation center and all, maybe you have that kind of based on usage applications. But for academic institutions who have invented a new product and they want to get it patented and then protect other forms of intellectual property, it is best that you file application as proposed to be used. Unlike in other countries like US, Europe, and other regions, where you're required to file statement of use to get the mark registered. In US also there is what is called intent to use. In India we call it proposed to be used. In US they call it intent to use. When you file an application for intent to use in US, they accept for the registration, but they won't register the mark until you commence in the commerce. However, India is not like that. If you propose to use the mark, you don't require to file any documentation of usage. It will be automatically registered to you and it will be valid for 5 years. If after 5 years also, if you are not using it in the market, still it will be continued to be valid until somebody challenges of non-use. Somebody files a rectification application. Earlier it was before Intellectual Property Appellate Board, but now it should be in High Court. Once they file this rectification application claiming non-use, then the mark will be removed to you. Otherwise, even proposed to be used marks can be continued to be used for decades together. It is initially valid for 10 years. After that, you can renew for another 10 years. Every 10 years, you can renew it based on the proposed use. And once you use it in the market, nobody can challenge you for non-use, right? Then there are about, as I said, the mark need to be associated with the product or service. These products and service, which are called trades, are divided into 45 categories. NICE classification, which is international classification. NICE is a city in the France where this classification is adopted by international member countries. India is one of the member to this classification. Section 7 of the Trademark Act endorses this international classification and says that the goods and services categorized in these classes will be applicable to Indian trademark law also. What happens is, suppose you have registered, suppose you have invented a product, a software product, and you have registered a brand name to that software product. Like I had Gymfix. Gymfix, you made a software, and that Gymfix you have registered a trademark. And somebody providing gym services, not software, but gym. He provides a gym itself. He want to register the mark. It falls in the class 44, whereas software falls in the class 9. Once you register it for class 9 software products, it is open for the other person to use the same name Gymfix in class 44. So that kind of a classification has been created so that same names, because if you go on registering brands, you'll exhaust the names for the products and services. So to avoid that, to have same names can be registered to multiple traders with different product and services, the classification has been designed. Then applications can also file for multiple classes. You can file one class if suppose software product and software service you are doing. Software product as a product, 1 to 34 are goods, 35 to 45 are services. So as a product, software product will fall under class 9, software as a service fall under class 42. So you can register under both the classes. So customized software can be provided as a service under class 42, and as a product, if you develop an app or a product which can be downloaded and installed on a system, that can be registered under class 9. So both class 9 and class 42 you can register. How many other classes you have products or services, and those many classes you can register the mark. Then series marks. Series marks are those if there are multiple components in your logo. For example, that Microsoft Windows, that Windows device, Microsoft Word, and Windows Word. There are 3 elements in the logo. So 3 elements can be independently protected if you file as a series mark. If you file as together, then under section 17, you need to use it as a whole. When somebody copying, suppose somebody only copied the Windows device, you can't file an infringement case against him because you have filed as a whole. If you have filed as a series mark, if somebody copies only the Windows device, still you can file an infringement case because that is separately registered to you. So you need to pay separate fee for each and every element in the logo in the series mark. Though you can file a single application, but you need to pay separate fee for each and every element which will be registered independently, as if you have made an independent application. Then there are collective marks. Collective marks are those marks which a group of individuals together use a particular label. Say, for example, CII, Confederation of Indian Industry. It is entire group of industries in India uses that logo. Or company secretary or chartered accountant. These logos are used by only specific group of individuals. So this collective group of individuals can register that brand as a collective mark. Then certification marks. Certification marks are those which are like ISI mark, UG mark, Silk mark. Those certifying the products, those things are called certification marks. For collective marks and certification marks, you along with an application, you also require to file rules governing. Then there is this concept of well-known trademark. Well-known trademark are those trademarks which require which acquire a lot of reputation to that brand among substantial number of people in the country. For example, Tata. If I start tomorrow, Tata Intellectual Property Services. Tata don't have Tata Legal Services or Tata Intellectual Property Services. They are not existent. But if I start, you'll automatically associate with the Ratan Tata Group or Tata Group. You'll not believe that it is started by Vijay Kumar. So that is because Tata word per se has become quite popular because of their diverse business segment or because of huge advertisement. Automatically that name has been associated to that company. So in such situations, it is called well-known mark, and it is protected for all 45 categories of products and services. Now it is very important to use the symbol, the marking, we call it marking, whether it is patent, copyright, trademark, whatever it might be, a constructive notice to entire public is necessary to say that it is your trademark, your copyright, your patented product. That will disentitle innocent infringement. That will disentitle the defendant to claim innocent infringement to the products or services, to the intellectual property what they are infringing. It gives a constructive notice to the public. Then if it is, you need to use TM when it is unregistered trademark. There is a myth that people say that only when you make an application you need to file, you need to use TM symbol. It is nothing like that. You can use TM symbol even without filing a trademark application. If you feel that that particular label or that particular sign or that particular name represent your business, your trade, then you can put it TM. That means it is, you are treating it as a trademark. You are giving a constructive notice to the public. It doesn't require filing an application. Once you file an application and once it gets registered, remove the TM, use with circular which says that it is a registered trademark. TM is constitute, you are using it as a trademark. When you put circular, you are giving constructive notice that it is a registered trademark. Using circular without registration is an offence under section 107, which attracts penal punishment to you. So don't use circular without filing an application and getting registration. Use TM even without filing an application, but when you are using R registered or REGD symbol to a particular word, name, logo, then it has to be registered. Then use the mark consistent in all places, in your visiting cards, in your website, wherever you are using the mark. You make it, you should use it consistently. You should not use variations of the mark. In case you want to use variations of the mark, you can file all those variations under series application and get it registered. And then you can use variations of the mark. However, you make sure that if it is consistent usage everywhere, it will be identified to your product or service. Then use the mark as adverb, not as a noun. If you go on using the mark as a noun, then it will become generic. Something like Xerox, cellophane, refrigerator, kerosene. All these are once famous brands, fanciful marks, which have become generic marks because of excessive misuse. So only the marks which are distinguishing one product from other product will be considered as a trademark. So distinguishing factor is very important. So if it loses that distinguishing factor, it becomes generic, thereby it loses the protection. So only distinguishing marks will be given protected. The marks which are not distinguishing will not be given protection. Then police your mark online and offline. If we have a casual attitude towards intellectual property, as I said earlier also, it requires that casual attitude required to be removed, and we need to police the marks both online and offline. Trademark registry, government will never police your marks because you have registered trademark. The government will not look in who is violating your mark. It is your duty to check who is copying your mark, who is misusing your mark, who is trying to ride upon your goodwill. You need to police it. You need to report it to the concerned authorities and get it stopped. If you don't stop it, if you look it and you allow them to continue, then it becomes acquiescence under section 33. It becomes acquiescence, and you can't file a case later on. Then lastly, what people do is they adopt a trademark which is descriptive to the product or service. If it is descriptive to the product or service, then it is highly unlikely getting registration. Number one, even if it is registered, you are curtailing the freedom of speech and expression of your fellow trader. What will he sell his products? What will he describe his products? So freedom of speech and expression versus trademark as commercial expression, you need to be very careful. This happened in Cadila versus Gujarat Fertilizers case, wherein sugar-free brand name Cadila wanted to enforce on Gujarat Fertilizers. Gujarat Fertilizers used sugar-free in their literature. Cadila filed a case against them. And Cadila suggested that you can use no sugar, nil sugar, sugarless. Why sugar-free you are using? Then the Supreme Court said you can't dictate how he has to describe. It is his choice how he can describe it. He has freedom to describe his products. So that freedom of expression need to be allowed. If you adopt descriptive marks as a trademark, it is difficult for you to enforce. Then prior user is exempted from infringement. In India, being a large subcontinent and trade business are existing from over 100 years and several years, the business are continuing. A mark that has been used for several years, you come up today and register the same for the same product and service and try to stop him will not be possible. Prior user is the powerful user, then the registered user is what said in several cases. So if you are prior using it, then you can stop the registered user, but registered user can't stop the prior user as per section 31. Then bona fide use of personal name and places are exempted. If you are bona fide, if I'm using Vijay name for selling a product bona fidely, not trying to ride upon some registered trademark, then I am allowed, I am permitted. Honest bona fide use of a name, my own name, is exempted from infringement. Otherwise, also section 12 of Indian Trademark Act says that honest and concurrent use is allowed. If you are honestly adopting a name which is exactly similar than the registered trademark who is existing some other part of the country, and you have adopted not knowing that he's existing and you have started using it, that is exempted, and you can also claim registration to the mark because you are the concurrent user along with that person. Distinctiveness ladder, I just touch upon this. The marks which are coined are called fanciful marks. Marks which doesn't have any connection to the product or service are called arbitrary marks. Marks which require little mental effort to understand the product or service is called suggestive marks. Then the description of the product are descriptive marks. The name of the product itself are the generic mark. So suggestive, arbitrary and fanciful mark are considered to be more distinctive. Descriptive and generic mark are less distinctive. These fanciful, arbitrary and suggestive marks are protected, and descriptive and generic marks will never be registered as marks. I'll give some examples of this. Fanciful marks. Xerox though has become generic, but initially it is a coined word. Arbitrary marks, suggestive marks, Infosys for software, RapidShave for shaving cream, merely descriptive. Generic names. Some of these generic names like cellophane, accelerator, kerosene, refrigerator, thermos, these were highly fanciful, and they would have been protected, but they have become generic because of excessive misuse. Terms like brilliant, to what product or service you have applied decides whether it is fanciful, arbitrary, suggestive, generic or descriptive. For example, brilliant for diamonds is merely descriptive. For furniture polish is a suggestive. For applesauce it is arbitrary. Distinct marks, deceptive similar. Deceptiveness is not allowed. If it is hurting religious sentiments, then it is not allowed. If it is prohibited by law, that is prohibited by emblems and names, Prevention of Improper Use Act 1915, national emblem, national flag, present and past prime minister, present and past president's names are excluded from getting registration. Shape as to the nature of technical result. So all those things will not be. There are two sections under Indian trademark law, that is section 9 and section 11, which says that section 9 is absolute grounds of refusal and section 11 is relative grounds of refusal. So based on these sections, the examiner, after filing your application, will examine it and issue an examination report. You need to comply, you need to reply to the objections within a month. Once you reply, he'll call for a show cause hearing. In the hearing, he'll ask you why it is overcoming section 9 and 11. If you reply to him satisfactorily, he accept it. Otherwise, he'll refuse it. If it is refused, you need to go to appellate board. Now it is High Court. Otherwise, it will be published in the journal, and thereafter it will be after 4 months period it will be registered. If it is once it is published, it's open for public for 4 months to oppose. If nobody opposes, then it gets registration. Once a trademark is registered, the enforcement has important aspect to it. Deceptively similar. If you find somebody using exactly same name of your brand, and if you don't, and we are saying that we need to enforce our brands and all. If we don't enforce, you will get accused and you can't file a case against them. So similarly, when you find a mark similar, you need to file a case. How courts reacted to deceptive similarity is in this next two slides I'll explain. Caronil, a brand released by Patanjali Ayurvedic Limited. There is another company who is using Caronil 92B. When they found Caronil is being started by Patanjali, they immediately filed a case. But the court, initially the Madras High Court single judge bench has granted an injunction to that company. But when it is appealed in the division bench said, you have not registered the word mark, you have registered a logo mark, and you are using it for engineering services, whereas Patanjali Limited is using for medicinal preparations. Both are different. Though you are existing from 1993, you have not registered a word mark and you are not that popular as well-known mark, claiming well-known mark. So injunction has been removed and Patanjali has allowed to use Caronil mark. Similarly, in Amritadhara versus Lakshmanadhara, Amritadhara sought not to be the Lakshmanadhara is the court held that Lakshmanadhara is deceptively similar to Amritadhara. Just by the prefix similarity, the court has stopped. Similarly, Falsitab and Falsigo. Another interesting case, Surya versus Bhaskar. Surya and Bhaskar are sun god names is what court held and then stopped using Bhaskar from by the defendant. Similarly, Mayur and Peacock. Peacock and Mayur are different brand names of a same bird. So they have stopped somebody using Peacock. Mayur is a brand and somebody started using Peacock, they stopped him. So like that, it's not only the mark which is the structural similarities as well as phonetic similarities as well as language translations are also looked into when you go for infringement cases. Gluvita, Glucovita, Hajmola, Satmola, all these cases, the courts held that it is deceptively similar. As I was saying, the prior user is powerful user. In the case of Syed Moinuddin versus Sulochana Bai, the passing of right is broader remedy than the infringement is what court decided, and court said that the prior user is a powerful user than the registered user. So because of the paucity of time, I'll just I'll leave the PPTs.